Okay, fiscal control basics. The definition of money is that it is something with inherent worth. It is valuable in itself. Gold, silver, oil. America uses oil, even though it's owned by the OPEC countries. Land. In the past, money has been, in the UK, polished stone axes. Other parts of the world, seashells, camels. What we call money, pounds, dollars, euros, they're actually tokens of exchange. The technical term's fiat money. So what? A dollar, a pound, a euro, they're pieces of paper, or even worse, numbers typed into your bank account. That was one of the problems in 2007-2008. What was happening is that the banks were lending more than they had in their accounts. They called it fountain pen money. It's not money. You can spend it, but it's not money. It's bank, economists call it bank created money. Now, is that just me? No, you can find that on the Bank of England Quarterly Bulletin, 2014, page 3, it's online. You could also go and look at http:/positivemoney.org/issues/recessions-crisis/. What it means is that if the money isn't real money, if it's fiat money, it's more difficult for governments to control the amount of fiat money in the economy and therefore the rate of inflation. Again, so what? Well, the banks are in control of making that money. So that means that the government needs to keep a close hold on the controls that the banks have. They need to control the controllers. Well, they didn't. Up to 2008, they needed, and that didn't mean I was lying, because they didn't. They need to regulate the banks. And what went wrong was that the banks themselves worked out what was going on. PNB Paribas, which is a French bank, they stopped interbank loaning, and I'm going to quote from The Economist, that's the 12th of 10th, 2013, they suspended redemptions to an investment fund heavily invested in American mortgage securities, read from the text. Around the same time, an Icelandic bank, Landsbanki, they went bust. And to quote from the same article, because Iceland would guarantee only Icelandic deposits, it meant that British investors didn't lose all their money because the British government paid some of it back to those investors. But of course that costs the investors, British investors, and it also cost the government because they had to pay out. The only people who did nicely thank you was Iceland. So what does that mean? It means the banks are lending far more money than they owe. In the diagram that you can now see, the green, the tiny little green line at the bottom, is the cash that the banks actually had in their accounts from 1969 to 2014. The horizontal lines, white and blue, are in billions, and you get to 2,000 billion, right? And the red area is the breathtakingly insane rise in lending. And as you can see, the actual cash basis upon which this was all founded has barely moved at the bottom of the diagram. But as you can see at the top of the diagram, they were, and still are, going absolutely mad. So what's that got to do with the European Union? Well, let's start with the UK. The UK has a pound, not the euro, so that means that they can control the exchange rate. The government can control the exchange rate. It's largely done really through the Bank of England, but nonetheless the politicians lean on them, and they themselves can intervene. So they can control, to a certain extent, the purchase price of the dollar, the euro, against the pound. Now, you don't always want the pound to be highly valuable. Sometimes you want it to go down in value. One of the things that's been currently said is how terrible it is that the pound's going down in value. We can actually do with the pound going down in value so that we can sell abroad. There are areas in the United Kingdom where the economy is so inefficient that it would be really good to have a 50 pence pound. Areas in the north where it would be advantageous to have a devalued pound. Let's take America. If you were living in Detroit 15 or so 20 years ago, and you'd had a Detroit dollar, let's say you could have devalued it, then you could have bought time, that's all, for your car industry to stop it basically dying, because the Americans weren't innovating. They weren't doing what Mercedes, Toyota, Nissan, etc., etc., etc. were all doing, and are all doing, which is innovating, upgrading. The lead model is always Mercedes. I think it's the S-Class. So Detroit couldn't compete. Detroit couldn't innovate. Detroit couldn't devalue their Detroit dollar. So Detroit went bankrupt. Go online. Take a look at photographs of Detroit now. It's a wasteland. What's that got to do with Europe? Well, it's the same issue. You've got an exchange rate for the euro that's ideal for Germany. Let's not fret about who set that up. I guess you can work it out, but we don't know. What about Spain? Not doing as well. Italy, Portugal, Ireland, Greece. They're in the euro, but they have different economies in Germany or the UK. So their currency value needs to match their economy so they can trade, but they're stuck with the euro. Now that choice, and it was a choice, was part of the political integration process, and it's led to where we are now. It is as simple as that. The aim is to create full integration by 2025, 2030. Well, let's suppose they manage it. Will that solve the problem? No. They've still got 27 different economies at different stages of development, efficiency, effectiveness. Let's, an example, Eastern Europe. There are farms in Eastern Europe that are ploughing with horse-drawn ploughs. How can they possibly hope to export and make money if they can't shift the exchange rate? They can't buy the time to innovate. And worse than that, in order to shift the exchange rate, they've got to get agreement across 27 governments. Okay, what else can you do? Well, you can bail them out. Or you can internally devalue. Let's go with that one. What does that mean? You reduce the wages of your population. It's bad news. Greece, what is it, 50% unemployment? 25% youth unemployment? Another way you can do it is called fiscal easing. I really do dislike that term. It means printing money. And John Maynard Keynes was not happy with it because the result is obvious. Inflation. The idea is that you use this fountain pen money, this fiat money that you've printed off, and you increase the disposable income. The range of goods is limited, always is. Demand rises, businesses increase their prices to increase their profits. The economy becomes less efficient because everything's more expensive. Prices are higher, so export costs are therefore higher, and so they're likely to decrease. Vicious circle. Prices are higher, export costs are higher, exports fall. Not very complicated, really. One country that's getting away with fiscal easing is America, not Europe. But what they're doing is that they did a deal with the OPEC oil countries that oil is purchased, OPEC oil is purchased in US dollars. So the US, what they do is they export, they print money and they export it, so that they get both, to some extent, they get the benefit of the fiscal easing with the increase in demand, but at the same time they don't get the negative effects so much as inflation. Even so, for whatever reason, at this moment they have a $19 trillion fiscal deficit, which means they owe a lot more than they are owed. Is there a connection between that and their printing of money? Is there a connection between that and the fact that the US economy is not growing as it should? Well, if you are printing money instead of innovating, certainly the American economy is not growing as it should. And they have the same problem with reduced salaries. Evidently, according to the media, the BBC and Sky, working and middle class Americans have not had a pay rise in 40 years, not in real terms. So how does that apply to Europe? Well, it means that they've got the same problem. Are they going to fiscally ease? Well, that's what they're doing. Will it work? Well, it creates inflation. Are they going to devalue the euro? Well, that would be good for Germany, and not necessarily going to be good enough to fix Greece. Don't misunderstand me. These countries like Greece, they've got internal problems. They've got problems of corruption. Precisely. Even if you get all 27 of them governed from Brussels, you've still got a corrupt bureaucracy. In Greece, you've got to solve that problem, and that's an internal problem. How are you going to fix it? Send in the police. Can you imagine the effect of that, arresting all the corrupt bureaucrats? It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So, summary of Europe. Germany doing well, economy advanced, innovative, efficient, good cash flow control, doing the right things, producing high quality cars, exporting them nicely. France, common agricultural policy, been bad for the UK, been bad for Europe, lots of money spent on keeping things out of date, not a great idea. Italy, Spain, Italy bankrupt, Spain not far off, Portugal not far off, Ireland not far off, Greece well beyond bankrupt, well beyond. All European countries are either flatlined economically at best or in recession. Now, is that because of the economic cycle, or is it because of the position that Europe is in? Generally, well, it's both. Is this negative for the UK? Well, yes. We pay in around 350 million a week, estimate, depending on who you believe, and I'm not sure I believe any of them. Okay, forget that. Let's talk about who actually pays in. 2 countries. All the rest of the countries are gainers. They pay in less than they receive. So Germany pays in more than it receives, Britain pays in more than it receives. So who are we going to go to get the bailouts? Okay, so we help them out. We bail them out. We bail out Italy, we bail out Spain, we bail out Portugal, we bail out Greece, we bail out Ireland. We help them out. Is that so terrible? Except that their basic economy hasn't changed. They still can't control their exchange rate. They can't control their interest rate. They're reducing their wages. They're trying fiscal easing in Brussels. It creates inflation. It makes the economy less efficient because prices rise, so it's harder to export. What's the conclusion? Well, ignore me.